Factoring quadratic trinomials when a is equal to 1. First, a little vocabulary. A quadratic is a polynomial of degree 2. A trinomial is a polynomial with 3 terms. Something like x squared plus 9x plus 18. Here's your degree of 2, and here are your 3 terms. A leading coefficient. The leading coefficient we're going to refer to as a. In the example above, our leading coefficient would be right here, and it would be a 1. The coefficient of the middle term we're going to call b. In this problem, our b value is 9. And our constant term, which remember is the term with no variable, we're going to refer to as c. So here, 18 is our c value. Let's jump in. We need to factor x times to the second power plus 9 times x plus 18. First, we want to identify a, b, and c. A here is 1, b is 9, and c is 18. Our first step after that is to multiply the a value times the c value. So I'm going to take 1 times 18 to get 18. My next step is going to be to find factors of 18. So factors of 18 are going to be 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6. I need one of these pairs, so which pair adds to equal the b term of 9? Well, looking what I've got up here, it's going to be here with 3 and 6. So this is how this factors. Always in factoring we're dealing with parentheses. My a term factors as x and x, and that's coming from up here. That becomes your x and your x. The second part of this comes from what we did right here. So the 3 will go in one parenthesis and the 6 in the other. It doesn't matter which comes first. Because it was a positive 3 and a positive 6, this is what we have. Let's try another one. Okay. Again, identify your a, your b, and your c. Remember that a is coming from here. So your a is 1. That your b is coming from here. So b is 2. And that your c is coming from the constant. Remember to take the negative with it, is a negative 24. Now we're going to take the a times the c to get negative 24. Okay? Now, next step is we need factors of negative 24. Thinking about this, because there's going to be, we need to make the negative 24. So what I'm looking at here is negative 1 times 24 and 1 times negative 24. Negative 2 times 12, 2 times negative 12, negative 3 times 8, 3 times negative 8, negative 4 times 6, and 4 times negative 6. This is unfortunately a tedious process sometimes. Remember, our goal is to find a pair that adds to equal your b term of 2. So remember, we're trying to equal what we had right here. So looking at what I've got, I need this to add to be a positive 2. And so looking through the list right here, the idea that negative 4 plus 6 equals 2. That's the hard part. Now we can finish off. So I can finish off by again remembering that the x term that I had gets put here and here. That's a little dark. And then my new factors that I got from here, from right here, go here and here. And now this is factored. I'm going to give you a few of these to practice with. Alright, one more. Because what I notice here, first of all, is that because the directions on this video were that a had to be 1, I notice here that my a is not 1. The other thing I notice here is we're factoring quadratics, and this is to the 3rd power, not of degree 2. So we don't have a quadratic here. So we need to go back and think a couple lessons back about the idea of greatest common factor. So looking at what I've got, I have 4, 4, and negative 24. Is there a number that will go into all 3 of those? Yes. All 3 of these are divisible by 4. Then I have the x cubed, the x squared, and the x. So looking here, is there something that they have in common? Well, looking here, they all have at least one x. So we have a GCF of 4x. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide out that GCF. So I've got that 4x cubed plus 4x squared minus 24x, and I'm going to divide all that by 4x. As I do that, 4 divided by 4 leaves 1. X cubed take away an x leaves me with x squared. In the middle, 4 divided by 4 would give me 1. X squared take away an x. And then 24 divided by 4 is 6, and the x is gone. And then don't forget that this has to come out front. Now what I'm doing is looking right here. Now I have a quadratic that I can factor. So now going back to the idea of your a equals 1, b equals 1, and c equals negative 6, a times c is negative 1 times negative 6. I'm sorry, not negative 1, would be positive 1 for negative 6. So I need factors of negative 6, which is going to be 1 times negative 6, negative 1 times 6, negative 2 times 3, or negative 3 times 2. The goal is we need to add 4b, which is positive 1. So looking at what I've got there, positive 1 would come out of here. So taking negative 2 plus 3 equals 1. And now I'm going to go ahead and set up those parentheses, remembering again that the original term over here was x squared. So that's going to come in here. Then I have the numbers I just worked with, which were my negative 2 and my positive 3. And then don't forget that this GCF from over here also needs to be part of the answer. I'm going to let you practice one or two of these. In conclusion, I know this looks like a lot of work, but as the more you practice it, the easier it'll get. Remember, you are looking for trinomials. The variable should only be to the second power. You have to think about factors of a times c, and then which factors will add to equal the b value. And then you've just got to set up your parentheses and go.